Hey, it's Steven. I'm starting a new video series mainly designed to help first-time filmmakers and mainly directors, but it'll be for anyone who wants to learn more about how sets operate. So I'm going to be interviewing as many people as I can who've been crew members on sets so we can learn what it is they do and how best to work with them. And some of you might also be interested how they got their start on set, so we'll get into that a little bit too. So my first guest is Michael Coulombe, who has vast experience as a script supervisor. He's also a writer and director, and I met him because he was the script supervisor of my film, Dance Baby Dance. How are you, Michael? Yeah, there should be confetti flying on the screen or something.
So what a scriptwriter basically is like what a stage manager would be in theater. But really our job is we track continuity. So our job is to make sure that the movie can cut in in post-production, you know? So what happens is like I'll get a gig, I'll get hired, and then like what I do with your movie, and then I'll get the script. And the very first thing I'll do is I'll read it, kind of get a feel for the story. And then after that, we do what's called a script breakdown. Now I'm a digital script supervisor. I use software that was designed by another script supervisor, but you can do there's so many ways, you can do a breakdown by hand. There's all kinds of breakdown forms that you can find online, several that I've used in the past. But the idea of breaking down a script is you start with the first scene and you're just like, okay, who's in it, like which character is in it, and then sometimes it'll mention things that we have to pay attention to, like are they wearing a jacket? If they're a woman, do they have long hair? Like sometimes the script will say those kind of things.
Right.
And so we write that down. I'm like, okay, well, we're filming with Rebecca. Maybe it's a scene in the summer and she's outside, so maybe it'll mention she's wearing a dress, or like a summer dress. And then we read the scene, and there's certain things that like I'll write down for me to notice. Like, I always give the example of like if we're filming in a classroom, like with kids, they usually have books or backpacks or pencils and stuff like that. So there's things that we pay attention to that are written in the script specifically, and then there's things that we know we should pay attention to because the idea about breaking down a script is it gives us a sort of timeline of where we are on the script. So we also do what's called a day night breakdown, which is just as important. But basically, what the audience needs to understand is there's a whole timeline in the story, right? So the way that we tell the audience that there's a new day is we change the actor's clothes,
Okay.
right? And so, and it's very interesting because people don't understand that there's like a timeline, but you'll watch a movie and then like it'll say like 5 years later, right? So even though like the first scene might be 5 years in the past, that's like day one, and then like 5 years later in the future is day two. It's just the second time we see that character, they have to have a new outfit. And so what breaking down a script helps us do is know where we are at in the story. So because we shoot movies out of order, like if we're shooting a scene with people at a bar and they're at this bar multiple times, as you know, we'll go to that bar and shoot all of those scenes first,
Hmm.
right? Because we have to get the location, and it's so difficult to go to a location and set up. You got to bring the camera, the lights, the actors, all the wardrobe stuff. So we just shoot all the scenes there. So my job as a script supervisor is to make sure wherever we are in the story, I know everything I need to know about that scene. So if we go to the bar and the very first scene we're shooting is scene 12, and I know that's day three in the story, you know, I'll go to my breakdown like, okay, we're doing day three. Maybe it's the first day shooting, so the actor hasn't been established yet, you know. And so you guys like wardrobe and makeup and everything. And hair, they'll establish the look of the actor based on your creative decisions, and they'll bring them to set. And then once they get established, I'll take a picture, right? And in my notes, I'll be like, okay, this actress looks like this in day three of our script, right?
Right.
And so I notate that.
Right.
And then I'll be like, okay, so before we shoot the scene, I'll be like, okay, we're in a bar, and in the scene, she's drinking out of a glass, so I'll know that she has to, because you never know where we're going to shoot at any given time in any scene. So I have to. So those props that carry over, like sometimes actors might wear certain things like a watch or a specific sort of jewelry that works with their character. Maybe the character is married, but the actress isn't, so I got to make sure they have a wedding ring. You know,
Right.
it's just things like that. So there's all that stuff is story consistency.
Right.
right? And story continuity, which is very important. But then there's also like actor continuity. So like sometimes things will shoot like maybe we'll shoot all these scenes at the bar, but maybe one of those scenes the actors or the characters leave the bar. We're going to shoot the outside scene in a couple of weeks from now. You know,
Right.
I have to make sure that when we shoot that scene in a couple of weeks, when they exit the bar, that they look the same,
Right.
right? Also, I have to track the screen direction. So, like if they exited camera left out the bar, we got to make sure that we see them enter camera right. It's all got to be consistent in the story. And so, um, doing a very thorough breakdown in pre-production is tantamount for that reason. Do you know what I'm saying? Because the schedule may change. It doesn't matter what we shoot. For me, it's always like, okay, I just go to that breakdown and I know, and throughout the shooting, I'll take photos, I take screenshots, I write in the script, like what hands I grab things with. So all that's really important. And so is the day night breakdown. I have to know the story. I have to know where we are at any given time. Do you know what I'm saying? Like what's and it's other people because people get these things. There's shooting days and there's story days. Shooting days are just like it may take us 15 days to shoot the movie,
Right.
right? But we may only have 3 story days, right? You know what
Right.
I'm saying? Right.
Yeah.
So I have to understand at any given time where we are in the movie. If it's like 5 years later, if we're doing a flashback, it's just things like that. So yeah, the first thing we do is a script breakdown, and that's what that entails. I do a page count. I do a script breakdown. So I literally just take each character and go.
All right.